Welcome everyone to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack and we're just holding it here on channelattitude.com. It's a little bit of a easy listening intro with a couple of easygoing guys that are here to talk about not one but two impact shows all in one place. That's right, I'm Jamie Williams, the vet. This is where I'd pause for Ray's music intro, but I don't have to because the music's already here. And providing the music, I've got my co-host that's here with me every single week, and he supports bullying. It's Brandon.
Yo, what is up? Yes, like Disco Inferno once said, I support bullying in certain situations, and as we saw at Bound for Glory, there's going to be a lot of bullying going on at Impact Wrestling.
Oh yes, and that is not just a great pun, it's a great teaser for what we're about to get into, but yes, that's right. All right, so we're back for another episode, and so we usually start off with a little bit of chat acknowledgement. I only see Lisbeth and Labrat right here, but those are two L's that I'd be happy to take any week so far. And yeah, what else has been going on in the world of wrestling? And Buckshot Kid saying finally.
Yo, what up?
Yeah,
man. So of course the other big thing happening was the return of Bray Wyatt the other night at Extreme Rules.
Yes. What do you think about that?
It could be interesting, and I've been hearing rumors that they might be setting up a faction like the Wyatt Six, with each person representing one of the puppets in the funhouse.
Barf. All right. Well, and Liz just has a spoiler that Gallows and Anderson showed up on Raw, so. Even though I'll be watching Raw anyway, at least I won't have to talk about their chin locks every week here. I guess that was always going to happen, and that'll hopefully keep them the hell out of New Japan too, because damn it, that's one thing I don't want to see when I turn on my only wrestling promotion that exists anymore. I don't want to see fucking Gallows and Anderson over there.
Is Anderson still the never openweight champion, or did he drop it to go back to the E?
Motherfucker is still the never openweight champion. But
so what? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
That's actually kind of a big thing because they have a guy who holds a New Japan title in the WWE right now. Has that ever been done before?
Probably, but not for a long, long time. And I guess this is a different WWE, right? I mean, you know, if you noticed, they've been putting over other promotions on the air, like to an absurd degree. Like when they were talking about stuff that you know people's history with past companies and stuff, but they're even mentioning like PWG, which even I wouldn't go so far as to mention PWG. I'm like, wow. That's like a little bit beneath them, but Michael Cole says it, so you know what I mean. So they're acknowledging stuff. I guess part of the thing is like if they want guys to come back, guys have a little leverage in their deal and say, well, you know, we've got these dates left, or we'd like to work, you know, with this company going forward and stuff like that. New Japan is not in direct competition to WWE, so it shouldn't matter. Javi Uchiha saying that New Japan Pro Wrestling TV Championship is god awful. I don't know if it's god awful, but it's not great. It looks a little clunky. They did, for those of you who don't know, they just today they unveiled like a new championship, which is going to be defended amongst a certain set of parameters or whatever. But it's the belt itself just looks like a big rectangle. I don't know. It kind of looks like a combination of the craftsmanship that championship belts used to have, and the plainness of the design that the WWE uses. You know, like their belts are all just big logos now. It's just like a big WWE logo, and you're like, this is boring. It's kind of like that. It just says NJPW World on it, all in gold. There's no other adornments or colors or anything on it. It's just like a big. It really is a gold belt. But I guess it's only going to be defended. You know, but every one thing they said was every match that it's going to be that it's going to be defended on will be free somehow, whether it's on social media or television or whatever, but it won't be like on pay-per-view or things. So it's supposed to, I guess, drive outside interest to the company, I guess, is what this belt is designed to do. Probably what Impact thinks the Digital Media Championship is supposed to represent, but they're just not doing it with it. Yeah.
They're basically New Japan trying to show them how to do it the right way.
Yeah. And we'll see if they do it. But yeah, and in other Japanese news, you know, of course, the passing of Antonio Inoki, wrestling legend. So, you know, and as Ray was talking about when we sort of discussed it on Next Level Wrestling Review last week, you know, the word legend gets thrown around a lot. Not always, usually just means somebody's old. But there is actually, you know, in the sense that Antonio Inoki was somebody that growing up is not a person I would ever see. Like there was no television to watch. There was no internet. It would just be like magazines, if anything, and just the mention of his name. But the fact that he was so famous that even to a child like me, the name got over as a big, important name. That's really what a legend is, right? It's like a story that's handed down, you know, and you don't have to have been there to know the legend. And that was kind of Antonio Inoki. Did you have any thoughts on it before we get into the main show?
Man, just somebody who made a huge impact in Japan. I mean, without him, Japanese wrestling wouldn't be where it's at. He his contributions can't be understated.
Yep. And this is the anniversary year of New Japan. It's 50 years. So that's not exactly the kind of celebration that they were hoping to have. I guess, you know, he hadn't been really connected to the company in any meaningful way, but I think Okada was trying to like build a bridge back, kind of the way, you know, Triple H would do with guys like Bruno Sammartino or those things. And if you notice, like he'd been all year, he'd have like his gear was like he had a robe that was inspired by Inoki. Of course, it was rainmakered up, you know, to be his style, but he has you know, it's like just the same kind of tailoring, I guess, as the old robe. So he was really doing a big Inoki thing this year. So it's really unfortunate that he passed. But you know, it happens. It's wrestling. Someone's gonna die every fucking week, it seems like. So let's see. Javi Uchiha says, what does the vet have against Bray Wyatt's creative? I mean, do you ever listen to any of these shows that I do? Have you ever? Is this your first time, Javi? Welcome. If so, welcome to the Impact Attack. I have something against all phony creative. When it's something that's supernatural elements are on my bingo card. You know, that's one of the bingo cards, bingo spots. Let's see, what is it exactly? Sports entertainment bingo. Number 9, supernatural powers. Right? So you got some fat guy out here sitting in a rocking chair saying he's Satan, and then he's going to he just decides to be a pro wrestler and hold guys' shoulders down for 3 seconds. That seems like a Satan-like plan. That seems like a good way to take over the world or whatever, or to convince the world he doesn't exist. yeah, just and you know, the Funhouse was I know a lot of people liked it, but even within the universe that they had created for it, I thought it was corny and terrible. I don't think Bray Wyatt's a good like performer. He has good ideas for things that could be TV shows or movies, but to be a professional wrestler, uh, I'm not into it. But that's one of those instances where I always say if this isn't for me and I hate it, but it's getting over. So it's just my opinion. I'm not saying my opinion is right or wrong, even though it's definitely right. Come on, but I'm just saying if it's getting over, okay, it's getting over. I could have Bray Wyatt if Bray Wyatt was in a wrestling company run by me. I could have him do a similar thing with just a few minor tweaks to make it less stupid. But you know, we'll see what he does now. We'll see what he does with the supposedly with the reins off, no pun intended. If it truly was Vince McMahon, which I definitely believe he didn't get it and was ruining all of it, I definitely believe that. I was in the building with the infamous Seth Rollins Hell in a Cell match. I was there. The people were so mad that, like I've told this story before, but the people in the building were so mad leaving the building that night that when the stagehands came out and were like cleaning up everything, and there was a little bit of Becky Lynch's steam pyro left in the thing, and they blew out the steam. Everybody turned and looked at it and booed it. That's how mad they were about what happened that night. So
It was so bad it turned Seth Rollins heel that night.
yeah, it really did. Well, that and the fact that he doesn't know how to work, but other than that, yep. So yep. Not into Bray. Look at Buckshot Kid. 99.99999% of what Vet says is the right thing, and that other 0.001%, that's just when I misspeak. So, but that's a good preamble. Anything else? Anything else you want to mention or cover or?
I'm trying to think what else big happened in wrestling. Any other news? I'm noticing, like, with the way they're setting up the show tonight on Raw, it's like they're building towards them at the end of the show, which is not something Vince McMahon would usually do. It'd usually be like, blow the load, on to the next thing.
Yeah. Well, that's a good Tony Khan move, too.
That too, yep.
Put everything up front, and then who cares? We'll have a 6-man featuring Daniel Garcia in the main event,
Who? Yeah, but it was a great match, guys.
It's just so ridiculous. He was in another main event. Daniel Garcia was in another main event. He's had more main events than any single wrestler this year, I think. He had to have. Yeah. Yeah, there's that. And I don't know what else is news. I guess if it was big enough or important enough to talk about, we would definitely have it fresh on our minds. But we've got a lot to talk about because this is the biggest show of the year for Impact. And Bound for Glory, but we're going to talk about the Go Home show first, and we're going to start off, fittingly, we have an Inoki tribute graphic that they put up at the start of the show. Another thing I was noticed that because WWE did it too, but I was disappointed that the WWE did not do like one of their packages.
Yeah, like with them and their history and their importance of wrestling, you think like they do something to kind of like introduce and say, hey, here's why this guy was so important and we're paying tribute to him.
Yeah. I mean, I understand when they don't do it for like every single person ever, but Inoki, first of all, it's just Antonio Inoki. Even if he never stepped foot in there, he's big enough that he should get like a little package they could throw together, and they had time to do it. Also, there was an unrecognized title change when he defeated Bob Backlund for the WWF Championship. So, technically former WWF champ, which they also mentioned on commentary. Corey Graves, I think, said it.
Really?
So they said it, but they're not going to make a package. Seems a little bit weird. And they have enough WWF only footage to make a package, but I don't think anybody else would be stingy with the stuff, so they could have done it. So, yeah. But just once again, a reminder on njpwworld.com, all of the Inoki stuff, all of his matches, you can answer that in a second. All of his matches are free to watch on World. So you want to see Antonio Inoki get in there, mix it up with guys from, like, not only the obvious choices like Tatsumi Fujinami and Riki Choshu and stuff like that, but also, Vader, Hulk Hogan. I think they might have that Bob Backlund match on there. Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody, Andre the Giant, even Great Muta. You can kind of see him have these matches with all these different people. The Funks, I think, one, I don't remember if it's one or both Funks, but like, so check out ngpwworld.com. All the Inoki stuff is free. They did a tribute video on the event today, the card Declaration of Power, and I think that is also free. So definitely check that out. But we're gonna start with people who are not Antonio Inoki and probably never will be. No offense, no one will be. So no problem. But Brandon, before we talk about this match, did you watch any of the 9 hours of Trailer Park Boys live?
Nah, I just actually found out that was a thing today.
With this comment?
No, somebody said something on Twitter about it, and that's the second I'm hearing about it. Forgot who.
I see. Well, we know what you're doing when you get off of here.
Yep.
All right. Well, Kenny King versus Kazarian. That's a lot of Ks. That's three Ks. I think we don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I actually have it in my notes as KK versus K.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like fine. At least it's not some kind of X Division multi-man something, but I'm watching this and I'm like, after all these years, Kenny King still opens his hand on the collar and elbow. You know what I mean? You know what I'm talking about? The whole like, yeah. I mean, what am I going to say? These guys have had long, illustrious careers. They've all done way more. They've all, 99.999 thousand times more than I ever did in the business. So what am I going to lecture them? Anyway, Kazarian wins. And then they show a weird, like, quick tail of the tape mini package thing for Kazarian versus Bailey at Bound for Glory. It seemed a little like they never do this, so
yeah, it seemed like something you do right before the match happens.
Yeah, I don't know if I liked it or not, but I don't know. Any thoughts on this match or?
No, I liked this. They got mileage out of everything they did in that ring, especially that lockup. Like, they worked that lockup sequence for like a good couple minutes.
That's true, they did, even with Kenny King opening his hand. So, yeah, that's what you'll see with the guys that have been doing it for a long time. And we'll talk about Frankie Kazarian again when we get to Bound for Glory, because that was not that.
And also too, like, they built towards the moves and the finishers and the story of Kenny keeping going for his finisher and Kaz keep finding ways to slip out before he hits his own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which in this match was a crossface chicken wing. Yep. Which I don't know that Frankie Kazarian is known for a crossface chicken wing. I certainly don't recall him ever using it. But then again, I'm not his biographer. I don't have every single one of his matches committed to memory, if he even has any these days, because I don't watch AEW Dark. But nonetheless, that'll come into play again later. So, any other notes or thoughts on this?
No, this was a good match. I liked it.
All right, thumbs up. Then we get a Fat Eddie vignette. Then we get a Mike Bailey vignette. Any comment on these vignettes?
Nah, just your typical go-home show high packages, get you going for their matches and a little bit of character development.
Okay. Then Mickie James comes out for commentary on Giselle Shaw versus Mia Yim. And they have a match. Then Mia goes over, and then Mickey goes in the ring, and there's a little, a little chippy tension there. A little, the body language is, we can't really hear what they're saying, but the body language is saying, yeah, okay, yeah, we're all cool and everything. Yeah, we got a match. Yeah, okay, all right, yeah, 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 yeah. And then, nothing happens. So, what do you think of the match? I'll admit to, missing parts of it, but
It was
seemed like,
pretty. I thought it was pretty decent. I liked that when they went for the spot where Shaw threw the clothesline and Mia ducked, that when Shaw threw the clothesline, she actually tried to take her head off instead of doing the whole, the throw over
Rainbow.
the head. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And when she did that flash move to the outside, she didn't or when Shaw did that, she sold it like it was like she was arrogant, cocky, like, yeah, I should be able to do that because I'm me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The character things are important here.
And she knows her character. She gets it.
Right. All right. After that, Labrat says, I need Vet to do play-by-play. Play-by-play on what? God. This would be... if you saw me doing a play-by-play on, on an Impact show, it'd just be like me going like... I wouldn't even want to call it.
You and Cornette.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, I wouldn't even have to talk. I'll just let him do it. They go over the rules for the Bound for Glory Gauntlet, Call Your Shot Gauntlet match next, which they'll do it again at the pay-per-view. So this was, I guess, not necessary because I doubt anybody was going to see these rule sets and then be like, oh, I'm ordering the pay-per-view for $40. It's like this wasn't going to be the deciding factor in anybody's purchase. And so if they were just going to use the same stuff later on the pay-per-view, then, but they're probably just trying to kill some time, right?
I mean,
all right.
the little character hypes in there were worked too. Like, just get everybody a little time, little shine so that, you see who's in it.
Right. Now, this was a weird one next. This was a Killer Kelly vignette. All right. So it's a pre-tape or whatever. It's in this room. It looks like the red light is in full effect here. So she's just doing her full weird sexual stalker creepy whatever she's doing. She's doing it. Like, this is all of it. This is it turned up 10 out of 10, right? All of a sudden, here comes Tasha to Savannah and kick the shit out of Kelly in her own pre-tape with the lights on the same and everything, and the music stops, which is hilarious. Like what was this being live scored? Did they have like a musician off to the side, like playing on a keyboard or something? And then as soon as the two come in, music just stops. Like, oh my god. Anyway, they kick her ass, and then they talk some shit, and they leave. I've never seen this done before, to my knowledge. Every time someone comes in off the screen and beats somebody's ass, it's usually like something that looks vaguely live, like this is being recorded right now.
Here's how they could have sold it, like it was being like it was a vignette. After when Tasha and Savannah show up, have the camera crew freak out and be like, you hear them yell like, we gotta go, and you see like maybe some shaking and some movement.
Right, but then, but see, if you do that though, reason why they didn't really, if you do that, the fact that you've got a whole crew setting this up just shatters the illusion of whatever character or mood that she's going for, because you basically just said this is all just TV, right? So you still do that just by having two people come in and do it, because I guess the whole idea with weird wrestling vignettes like this, and especially stuff like Sami Callihan or let's say Bray Wyatt, is that they film a movie and basically hand it in, and they're like, play this. You know what I mean? Like, that's right. Never said, but that's I guess the only way that it would make logical sense in a real world situation is, I've prepared material that you could show to promote me. Here it is. and then you put it in and you play it. So this would mean that Killer Kelly's filming her own vignette. They kick her ass during the filming of it, and then she just hands it in anyway. Like, this happened. It was a little weird. I could have edited this out to where it didn't happen, but I left it in. Like, it exposes it in a different way. So either way, you're getting exposed.
And here's how you fix that. You have Tosh walk over to the camera, pull up the tape, and say, "I'm going to embarrass you on the show."
That would be something. And, whatever way they could have done it, they didn't do it. And that's how you can count on Impact to be. Because even when they have different and interesting ideas, it's still not right somehow. Like, there's always something that's just not right.
But one thing we can always give them credit for, at least they're trying. They're putting the effort in. They're trying different things, which is more than we can say for a lot of people.
Yes. But, I mean, what was going through your mind when you were watching this as you were watching it? You're just sitting there like, all right, here's another Killer Kelly thing, right? And
for a second there, yeah, and then it's like, okay, this is different.
Yeah. Well, different is just enough for some people, I guess. Not making a comment on you, but just I hear that a lot, like where people will praise something because it hasn't been done, and a lot of times it's because, there's a reason why they've never done it like that. It's because it doesn't make sense. This was, I don't know, I'm gonna have to give them a fail on it if it's a pass fail. But then here's one. I guess this is a fail. A flashback to January 22nd, 2003, when Jarrett is celebrating a championship win and trying to get other people in the ring to celebrate with him to show that we're happy about Jeff Jarrett winning a championship. And then Raven attacks, and
everybody just stands there.
Everybody just stands there. Well, it's none of their business, really. Let's face it. This is between Raven and Jeff. So Raven attacks him, and then he steals the championship belt, which is another thing on the bingo card, stealing belts. So even back then, we're doing this. This whole belt stealing juvenile storyline, and as we get the closing shot of Raven with the stolen championship, who's right in that frame? Who's right in that frame there?
Our old boy, Vinny Roo.
Bro, you steal the belt. Okay. So, yeah. Well, Vince Russo's occupied with baseball playoffs right now, so it's that's where his head's at. He doesn't give a shit about any of this, and you can tell. Okay. Now, here's another one. Brian Myers walks through a hallway. Okay, it's badly lit, but it's normal. Okay, there's no lighting in the hallway.
Yeah, I noticed that there wasn't very much as much lighting this week.
Yes, the power of the Impact attack. So he's kind of runs into Raj Ashira, and then a Violent by Design mark comes in, and he's like, he ain't getting a shot at the Digital Media Championship. And then Delirious cuts a promo, which if you ever heard a Delirious promo, you know what to expect here. And then some woman is there. I didn't really catch the interaction, what he said to her. I heard it, but I was trying to make notes in real time about this. Like, okay, he went past Raj Shira and all this other stuff. So I didn't hear what she said, but what was that about?
I think he was assuming that she was Gujar's agent and was trying to like make an appointment or something, or say send him a message or something like that.
Ah, okay. And it was just we don't even know who she was, right?
Yeah, it's literally just some random one walking around backstage.
Cool. So again, this was the main takeaway I have from this is they didn't stick any RGB in the hall. So I thought this was a win. I didn't care what anybody said or did. I was just like, this is what it looks like. Now, again, like I said, the lighting was bad. It's very dim in places, and but it looked like a real place. Like if you were at this place, the lighting could be bad. It could be natural. It just could be how it is. So that gives you a sense of the whole guerrilla style. We're here. We're shooting on location. It is what it is. Deal with it. And then, which is how Impact usually is, except they throw one of those little lights on the ground and do the same thing. So this didn't have that. So I started to be like, oh, okay. As I perked up a little bit, like I would have felt like this hallway would have been lined with these things. Not the case. Then we get a Masha and Jordan Grace package. Did you have anything else to add about that previous scene?
Nah, I will say something about this package though. I did not notice during the Monsters Ball match with the women. Is that during that finish, you noticed that that can was sticking out of Allie Katch's leg?
Mm-mm.
Like there's like a soda can actually, like when you see her flip over, it's actually sticking out of her leg.
Ooh. Ah, it should be all right. There's a lot of meat on that leg. No offense. Yeah.
Hopefully insurance covers tetanus shots.
So what insurance? Her shoot
that's
job? Right. So, all right. So next we get Sami Callihan is going to be a special referee. And our match is Moose versus Bert. So I'm, a Moose singles match. All right, sure. Sign me up. I'm in for that. And which is, it's a good thing. He's great actually here. This is one of the reasons why, if people are like, why do you like Moose? This is a good reason why, because here he's like taking his time with stuff and he's interacting with Sammy. Of course, you already know what's going to happen with a situation like this. When you got an antagonistic antagonistic, did I say that? That's a word, right? Okay. When you got an antagonistic special referee, they're going to just do this gimmick where they're not really on either guy's side and whatever.
Yeah, we've seen, I think the Stone Cold comes to mind with him and Kane and Undertaker.
Mm-hmm. So, and to that point, like in a non overly phony WWE way, like the way they would do it today, where everybody's just over exaggerated, overly frustrated, overly mad, or whatever. But you see Moose's reactions to things here, where he just kind of like looks over and is talking trash that you could only hear it, like probably if you're in the front row, like it's not like oversold and pantomimed and all this other stuff. Moose's interactions with Sammy here are very natural, and like I said, he's taking his time and just he's working a little bit. I'm sure this match is planned out from start to finish, but he's working the in between. Letting Macklin sell stuff, and just when you're. I don't want to break down the entire philosophy of wrestling in every show, but when you're a specimen like Moose is, you want people to really be able to take that in. If Moose is out there just going 100 miles an hour and jumping around and flying and throwing people around and all this stuff and just doesn't really stop, it's hard to sort of appreciate the majesty, so to speak, like you get with his entrance, where you see a humongous guy come out, the lighting, the music, all this. Fans are still with it, even though he's supposed to be a heel. But when you're able to like slowly, carefully take your time, walk around the ring, let the guy sell, look imposing, look intimidating, yell at the referee, or not yell at the referee, talk to the referee who's trying to screw you over and stuff like that. That lets the audience like just really, it helps them to digest what's happening and appreciate the fact that like, wow, this guy looks like a star. This other guy is an Oompa Loompa that became the lead singer of Avenged Sevenfold, and the third guy is, well, he would have been doing jobs in 80s WWF. But speaking of Macklin, he started bleeding after nothing I could see. It's just because all Moose had done at the point that I saw this is like he had maybe chopped him a couple times. Like this is an example of what I was saying, where he'll chop him and then he'll just let him sell to the other corner. Then he'll slowly follow him and chop him again and stuff like that. That's all he was really doing. And at some point, Macklin's head the stitches, I guess, came open and just started bleeding. So that was kind of funny. That was like that's like the John Moxley meme or whatever. But, yeah, so stupidly, the finish is Callahan pile driving both of them. And then rolling Macklin on top. Like, usually in these situations, you would leave the match like unresolved. Like, I don't care. I'll DQ both of you, and then I'll kick your asses or whatever, like something like that. But for Macklin to just get a win, like he
Like,
pile drives him and rolls him on top of Moose, like that's not fair. Why Macklin or why Moose? Just Sammy Callahan shouldn't have a preference, so it makes no sense. And it's corny, but that's what they did.
I will say I do like Macklin's dives to the outside because at least when he does it, he makes it look like he's trying to use his body as a weapon and take the guy out.
Well, it's a weapon, all right. Any other thoughts on this?
It also made no sense for these guys to have a regular match after everything they've already been through.
Yep. Let's do Barbed Wire Massacre. Let's do Monsters Ball. And let's do a regular match to close out the... Okay, well, anyway. Next is 3 guys arguing in front of... well, all right, look. I said there was no lighting in the previous one. There was some lighting here. But it is a little bit muted compared to how it normally is. Like, it's a little washed out, and it's not as obvious until you go over by D'Amour's office and the wall's just randomly pink. But still, it's muted. It's muted. It's muted. And I'll take that. But anyway, yeah, these guys are arguing by D'Amour's office about who should get a spot in the Call Your Shot gauntlet. And they're right by Scott D'Amour's office. And then who comes out the office, Brandon? Who comes out the office?
I believe in Joe Hendry.
Sorry, I was a little late on that because I was holding my phone. Yeah, so he comes out and the song plays and everything, and everyone does the clap and dance thing, and people are coming into the scene like production assistants, and they're just throwing papers in the air and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I'm watching this and I'm just like, okay, let's see Scott D'Amour do it. Like, what is he above this? Get the fuck out here and start dancing. So that was my thought on it. But I mean, how is this now? Now we've moved on from torturing that random actor from those previous 3 vignettes, and now we're here. We're in Impact Wrestling. So Joe Hendry's here.
Man, they missed the part in that first vignette where, like, when the dude's like on his deathbed and he starts singing and clapping, and then he does a thing where he just falls back and flatlines, but everybody else just no sells and keeps singing and the clapping.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you can't have somebody die every time. But there it is. Joe Hendry. So next is well, I have it written down here as Decay, but that's not going to be for long. Versus the Swingerellas, and this is well, this is a match for these two to prove to Rosemary that they have enough teamwork by beating up 2 people we've never seen in the ring before, really. Jessica wins, and Tom says, like, she calls it the Sakishi driver, and I was like, does she, bro? Does she call it that, or is it you? I don't know. All right.
Just bad timing made them kind of rush the storyline, because there's so much more they could have gotten out of this. So much more.
Mm-hmm. And Labyrinth says Rosemary looking fit, which I also noticed. It seemed like she's been a lot slimmer lately, which is good. As opposed to Sammy, who he says looks unhealthy. Buckshot Kid with the spoiler. We're not there yet. Not there yet. Unless they didn't call him that on this episode, did they?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, I didn't think so. I feel like they would have made a big deal out of it like they did on Bound for Glory. But anyway, yeah. So there was that quick get over match for these ladies, and then Gia. Speaking of ladies, Gia walks up on Vexed in the back and asks him a question. And Chell had the line of the show saying, "I'm sorry, is a walking stick of butter talking?" Because Gio's wearing a yellow dress, and so so yeah. So then Vex does their little promo and walk off, and then I think the closing line is we have to go. We're lactose intolerant or something like that. So all right, Chelsea, I see you. I don't remember what any of them said. Maybe you could, if you remember, you can refresh the people on that. But
Nah, I thought that was kind of sounded like kind of an improv line she threw in there and kind of brought it back at the end, which is kind of cool. Like that's that's good comedy.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. She wrote that throughout the day.
Probably, yeah.
As soon as she saw Gia, she's like, "I'm gonna call her a walking stick of butter."
I mean, not that I compare her to Chappelle, but that's a Chappelle tactic where she start off somewhere, keep going, and bring it right back towards it at the end.
Mm-hmm. I could see you would miss that too, like if you weren't really paying attention, like I'm not a lot of the time, or the way I did the entire middle of the promo. But that stuff sticks out. So maybe I just have like a filter for like pro wrestling, like phony pro wrestling, like where it's or sports entertainment, where like when they're doing some promo or something, it's just like white noise, like ee, and then if they do something like off the cuff or something funny, it's like that filters through. Maybe that's what it is. Not really sure. Next match is Tall Ace Austin with Mickey Mouse gloves versus Alex Shelley, and my note says this ain't getting watched. Fucking you're trying to. Okay. I'll save it for Bound for Glory. Shelley wins. I didn't see how.
I think I forgot how.
Yeah.
But I know there's one spot in there where it was kind of really stupid. Like it was, Ben was holding Shelley on, and like Saban was just standing there like you're not gonna help your partner, dude. When the legal man or the extra man on the outside is holding them.
Yeah, I guess not. But these are some of the most influential people in wrestling, in the past 20 years. So I don't think we should question them. It's not our place. So Eddie storms in after the end of Josh Alexander's outside the ropes interview that he had, which I don't even know what that is, or if that was ever a thing that I knew about. But yeah, but he had I guess he had some sit down interview with Tom, and like they get the last comments of it, and then Eddie storms in, and then speaking of Storm, Lance Storm and Jimmy Jacobs, I guess, usher Josh out of the room. Even though Eddie's the one that interrupted, they pushed Josh Alexander away. I couldn't see Jimmy Jacobs' fingernails. They didn't appear to be painted, but it was hard to get an angle on his hands, so I can't say for 100% sure, but they could have been polished. It could have just had regular polish and not been colored. That's always a possibility with Jimmy. So anyways, the important part of this, though, is that Alicia comes in, and she kind of gets in her husband's face a little bit, and she issues an ultimatum.
Stay out of the fridge and let me eat for once.
Well, that's not really an ultimatum. That's an order. But yeah, she said either this ends or we do. And I did assume that she meant the food deprivation thing. But I feel like she could have said that a long time ago. So she must be talking about this whole honor no more deal after all. But yeah, so I don't know. Wives issuing ultimatums. That's life, right? I don't. Hey, I'm having fun doing something. Here comes my woman to shut everything down. Yeah, that's everyone can relate to that. That's easy to.
Eddie Edwards is going to go through a new gimmick change. He's going to be the Tom Brady of Impact.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, he's got a ways to go to be as accomplished as Tom Brady. and he's got a few pounds to go to be in the same shape as Tom Brady. Yeah, Elizabeth says she's just hangry. And Labrat says she just wants to be fed. Yeah, we're all on the same page. We all get it. Like, we know what's happening here. She's getting...
Here, have a Snickers. You're not new. You're not you and you're hungry.
Yeah. Someone hands her a Snickers, and then Eddie just grabs it. Just grabs it, eats the whole thing at once. All right, so our main event is another contract signing. Deja vu. It's presided over by D'Amore. He's got his fancy headset collar. Very expensive accessory. And I notice here that Jordan Grace was as ripped and jacked as I've ever seen her in my life. I thought she was going to tear her deltoid just by pulling the chair out to sit down. That's how ripped Jordan Grace is at this point.
Think she's getting some good advice?
Oh yeah. She's listening too. Which that's surprising for her, but since it's a metaphor, it works. Masha elects not to speak when given the opportunity. She just signs the contract and pushes it over. Unfortunately, Grace does elect to speak as she cuts her promo. Yeah, I don't like Jordan Grace that much. I don't know her, but just TV personality and social media personality, I don't really like her. But this was fine. Her promo was good. It's fine. It's nothing wrong with it. Not gonna trash it just because she's not my favorite. So she did that, and then Masha changes her mind, grabs the microphone and says, something in Russian, and then Jordan's like, "What does that mean?" And she says, "It means Masha's gonna kill you." And then she just attacks her like a wild animal and flips the table over on her, and flails at her and is pounding on her. And then Jordan fights back with some phony pro wrestling moves and strikes, and but she ends up in the table nonetheless with the snowplow through the table. So we go off the air thinking Masha's looking good. Can she do it? I certainly hope so. But that's Impact. What are your thoughts on this contract signing? And did this make you more excited, less excited, or the same excited for the match?
Same excited. I mean, it's a contract signing. How many of these have we seen?
Well, we saw one last pay-per-view we did. So yeah. There you go. That was Impact before Bound for Glory. And
still better than Tug of War with a belt.
Still better than Tug of War with a belt. Almost anything would be. Or stealing a belt.
Or stealing a belt, yep.
Yeah, Masha would never steal a belt. So I guess this just brings us right to Bound for Glory, does it not?
BF Jizzle.
BF Jizzle, big fucking gun. Shout outs to Doom. Doom the game and Doom the tag team with Ron Simmons of Butchery and Teddy Long. Holla holla, don't get blocked. So, here's the big question. Did you watch Bound for Glory?
I did not. I did not have the money to afford it.
Well, we've talked about this, but I guess we'll have to revisit it later. All right. Well, here we go. We get a countdown show with Brian Myers doing an open challenge for his digital media championship. And who would you think out of all the wrestlers in the world would answer this open challenge?
Googer?
No, of course not. That would make sense. But the man has no face. How can he answer a challenge? No, it is in fact Dirty Dango. That's right. Dirty Dango. Who's Dirty Dango? Well, I'm sorry. Maybe you remember him from another name, such as Fa Da.
Oh, okay.
You have to breathe in the A's. Yeah. Uh, Dirty Dango's here. He gets a shot. They have a match. Brian Myers wins. No surprise. Boring. And then we have the Raven Hall of Fame induction. And so Tommy Dreamer does the induction speech. And he says, I think one of the things in the package, they showed like a video package of lots of people talking about Raven and stuff. And I think it was Tommy Dreamer that said this in the package. If I'm wrong, then correct me. But he said a line. He said, "People are drawn to Raven without even knowing why they're drawn to Raven." And I thought the reason that struck a chord with me is because I was like, because I was like that. Like I was drawn to Raven in the mid '90s era. I just like when he was on the screen, I was interested to see what he was doing. And I didn't see a lot of ECW. I saw enough to know he was from there. And, you know, much like Inoki, I saw stuff in magazines and whatever of like, you know, this is Raven and he's got these feuds with Sandman and Tommy Dreamer. They were like legendary in a sense that I didn't really see them, but I heard of them and saw little glimpses of them. But when he was doing that stuff, now every wrestler looks like Raven, where they're just a bum wearing street clothes in a match. But, you know, at that time, it was somewhat unique to see a guy that looked like Raven, certainly a guy that was acting like Raven. And I didn't even really put it together about his previous personalities, like, you know, Scotty Flamingo or whatever the hell, because I wasn't watching the WWF in that era, so I didn't see it. I never knew.
He also is one of the guys who kind of started the cruiserweight light heavyweight division in the early '90s in WCW as well.
Yep, definitely didn't see that.
Yes, so, I think it was just Scotty Flamingo at that time.
Right.
So Scotty the Body.
And it was, what was he in WWF? It was like Johnny Polo or something.
Yeah,
like
Johnny Polo.
Yeah, didn't see any of that. So, or at least if I did, I didn't notice because he would have been like announcing a match that I was watching. He wouldn't have been like on TV, like in an on-camera role at that point. But the point is, the Raven character, though, you know, got through to me, and I enjoyed it. And he was one of my favorite wrestlers for a time in the WCW, like when he and Stevie Richards went there, and you know, I just found his shtick interesting, and I was like, this guy doesn't belong in WCW. He should be in the WWF right now. But yeah, but it was nothing in common with me. Like I wasn't an emo kid in high school. I didn't particularly like love grunge music as a genre. Of course, I listened to bands like or albums from Nirvana and Alice in Chains and stuff like that. But they weren't like heavily rotated in my playlist where I was only listening to that. I didn't even listen to the fucking Offspring, which was like his theme song or whatever. Like I didn't care about them. So it wasn't that it was anything like what I was doing. Maybe it was just that he was different from a lot of what else was in wrestling that I thought worked for wrestling. So I found that cool. So I agree that people were drawn to him without knowing why. Of course, it's easier to understand why now with the education in pro wrestling that I have, but yeah, so Dreamer does the induction speech. Heartfelt, a couple jokes that land pretty well. And then as soon as he introduces Raven just walks right by him. It's great. He doesn't barely look at him. He just walks right past him, and Tommy Dreamer just does the whole like all right, so I'll go stand over here now. And Raven's got like a full college essay in his hand, and I was like, bro, we've only got like 20 minutes before the show starts. What are you gonna do here? But I don't think he read off the thing because he didn't really turn many pages, and he definitely wasn't talking like he was reading stuff. So he probably just had like a few reminders there or whatever, just on what to talk about. So Raven did his speech, and then he went to, you know, at the end he put over Tommy Dreamer, and then he went to, you know, shake his hand and everything, and then he gave him an even flow DDT on the stage, and then hit the pose.
As he should.
Yeah. It's really all you can do. And then we're in Bound for Glory. It's the biggest event of Impact's year. Here it is. It's Bound for Glory. I turn into like Justin Roiland now. It's Bound for Glory, and they're bound for it, and it's glorious. And there's some people there, and some wrestlers, and some wrestling. It's nice to see an Impact show with seating that's above floor level. Uh, like there's actually bleachers that go up, and yeah, it was so all right. Okay, not a big building by any means, but it definitely looks bigger than what they normally do. And our opening match is Frankie Kazarian versus Speedball Mike Bailey for the X Division Championship. Mike Bailey on his entrance, two guys in karate gis held boards for him to break when he came out. One of them didn't break, but he didn't go back for it. All right, so the best way I could say to describe this match is that they used to call Frankie Kazarian the Future, right? Well, that was then, and the future is now, and he had a now match. So, rather than seeing the fruits of his labors and the experience and wisdom that he's gained over this 20-some year career, and to show us all what he's learned that's different from the young Frankie Kazarian that we saw back then when he was called the Future, he tried to have the match that these guys have now. As Jerome Hall, Jerome with an N, joins us. Good evening. He tried to have the match of today instead of showing us, how much he's learned is the best way I can describe it. So he wanted to hang with Speedball. And I'm not saying he didn't. That wasn't the point of it. It's just that we don't need old guys like Frankie Kazarian, Chris Jericho, whatever, to try to prove that they can hang. It's not about proving you can hang. It's about imparting the lessons that you've learned so that they don't fucking die with you. You need to slow this punk kid with his little mullet and his bare feet, and he can't even kick a board in half. You need to slow him down, okay, and teach him how wrestling's supposed to be, and still make it exciting. You're supposed to, you're supposed to build in a match like an X Division match. To properly do one, you should build to a frenzy, so that by the end everything's like topping the last thing or whatever. Instead of starting with a frenzy and then just petering into kickouts. Like, oh, I hit a big move. Well, you kicked out of it. So that's our match. That's our psychology. Our psychology is, I can't beat you. Very exciting. Frankie kicked out of the Ultima weapon, which no one had done to this point.
Hopefully that means he's getting rid of it.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, note to self. Or no, not note to self. Note to other wrestlers. If you are going to let somebody kick out of your finish, that must be the night you are debuting a new finish. Because your old one ain't good enough anymore. So if you want to tell that story, that's how you do it. It's like, oh, I guess I lost some miles per hour off my fastball. Well, I've got a changeup left. That's how it goes. Yeah. And then he, just as on the go home, Frankie Kazarian puts on a chicken wing and he wins the X Division Championship. No, I'm not kidding. Yes, that did happen. For the ultimate anticlimactic finish. After all the bullshit, the kickouts and the near falls and all this stuff.
This is the match that's supposed to put the kid over and get him to the next level, not give a veteran a win he doesn't and a title he doesn't need.
No, Brandon, you're wrong. This is about giving a veteran a title he doesn't need. That is what it's all about. That's what wrestling's about. Wrestling is all about giving people stuff that nobody wants them to have. That's it. A chicken wing. An unestablished move. He wins with a boring chicken wing. You can make the chicken wing exciting. You can do it. I actually contemplated using it as a finish, but I never got to.
Put some hot sauce on that, baby.
That's right. That's right, baby. So a chicken wing. I mean, it's even worse than I'm making it sound. Because if you watch the match that they had and all the stuff that they did, chicken wing. It's like, and as Buckshot Kid said, chicken wing looked bad. Yeah, as like, remember, these guys are coming off the top, diving through the ropes, doing all this stuff, and then like the finish is just like you just lazily grab a guy's arm and you just put your other arm on his chin and you just lay back. Just lay back, kid. Just lay back. And he taps. It's like, who the hell would tap to this? It's not even a real hold. I mean, it could be like a hammerlock, but it's hard to get the leverage when you're not using your other arm on a hammerlock. Like, just no. Yeah. Lara says, hey, give this up and coming veteran a chance. You're right. There's got to be some justification, and I guess to that degree, you know, you got to have some justification for this, and it could just be that, like, look, if Frankie Kazarian's gonna stick around and not retire, there's got to be a reason. He must be good enough. So I understand, but I just don't understand it in this context. Nonetheless, no one saw it coming, so there's that. But you know, they can always hide under the honoring the past and stuff like that. But fuck off. All right, so no time to celebrate though. Let's cut off his championship celebration in the middle and go to Mickie James backstage with Gia. No music underneath. She cuts a promo. Has nothing to do with anything that has to do with this title that just changed hands. They could have just said, "Wow, Frankie Kazarian." Keeping his legacy alive and writing new chapters in history. And then she could transition that into a question for Mickie. But nope, don't talk about it. Forget that he just won. Forget that he just won a belt. We don't have time to look at these things.
Yeah,
we got a show to do.
Yeah, exactly like that. And it's like talking about that. And hey, Mickie, your thoughts on that? Oh, that's a great thing, Kazarian. But tonight, what I got.
Yep. And blah, 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 blah. And that's perfect. But nope. Package. We got a package. Then Mia versus Mickie. All right, so they try to tell the hurt leg story. All right. Oh, I'm Mickie James and my leg hurts. That's basically the story that they're telling, right? But the problem is when people sell the leg and it's not real, because it never is. They always do things to just let you know it's extra phony. Like, I don't know if the fans really notice, but to me, so like, when somebody's selling the leg and they get knocked down, a lot of times when they stand back up, just out of habit, they'll stand up, putting the pressure to stand on the leg that's being worked on. Like, instead of pulling himself to a rope and like try to pull himself up with the rope and use the right leg, because let's just say, assuming that everything's all going to pro wrestling standards, it should be their left leg they're selling. So you're going to want to stand up pushing your right leg, pushing off your right leg, but they don't. If their instinct is to stand up on their left leg, they just do it anyway, even when they're selling it. And no, slapping your knee does not count as selling your leg. Okay, it doesn't actually do anything. I don't know why they think it does. I think they're just doing it for visuals for the audience, like this leg, this one, I'm slapping it. It hurts. But she also kips up too later, so whatever. She's fine. Of course, Mickie wins. But aside from my nitpicks, it was fine. It was a more traditional match in the sense of how it was laid out and their psychology in it. And they tried to get it over, but Mickie just doesn't sell the leg the way I would have liked her to sell the leg. But that's just my thing. Who cares about realism? We got the Wyatt Six, so we don't need realism in wrestling. But the match was fine. And let's see. Josh Alexander waits in a pink room, so the lights are not turned off completely. The room is very pink. Then we get a package, and then we get Vexed versus, here's the new name, The Death Dolls. What do you think of the Death Dolls?
Why aren't they still Decay? Aren't they still part of the group?
It's a sub-faction within the faction called the Death Dolls. No, not buying it.
I've heard a lot worse. I've heard a lot worse.
Yeah. I don't know if Rosemary is a Death Doll. That could just be those two. So, collectively, the 5 people are Decay, and Rosemary's Decay, but these 2 are Death Dolls in Decay. I don't know. Whatever. It's for a Knockouts Tag Team title. And the Death Dolls fucked up a false tag when... Okay, so you know how a false tag works, right? So that's where, for the people listening at home, that is where the babyface makes a tag, the hot tag, yay! But the ref didn't see it, and the babyface comes in, and then the referee's like, "Hey, you didn't tag," and they're like, "Yes, I did. Yes, I did." And then while the referee's pushing them out, the heels come in and double team the shit out of the other babyface that's been selling the whole time, right? Makes sense. And then that way it gets the crowd more angry at the heels. And then when the hot tag comes, they'll be like, "Ooh, I can't wait to see them get their ass kicked now because they cheated and the baby faces didn't get to come in at the time that I wanted them to come in. So I'm mad. Boo." You know? And then they come in and they're like, "Yay, that's the psychology of that. All right, what if I told you? No, let's not do that. Let's, when the referee comes to put the baby face back out, let's, when the ref says, 'Hey, Jessica, get your fat ass back through that rope, bitch. You didn't tag, ho.' Then here comes Deanna and like, 'Hey, let's double suplex Taya.' And Taya's like, 'How about I double suplex both of you?'" I don't have a cricket sound effect, but I mean, it's not how I would have done it. I mean, obviously, Taya's strong enough to, after her beating, to suplex the entire other tag team. I don't think Jessica needs to come in and help, does she? I think Taya's got this. Just keep beating them both up by yourself. You got it. I'll just sit here on the apron providing cheerleading support. Yeah, not only do you look stupid because you buried everything that they did, but you also take all the steam off of when Jessica does come in. Because now when she comes in and bumps these 2 around, it's like, well, I mean, I guess that's cool and all, but she did a double suplex. So, you know, kind of rather her stay in there. Because, yeah,
she can take them both on by herself. Why does she need a partner?
Yeah, but who cares about that? Who cares about psychology? Who cares about anything, bro? The Devil Dolls or whatever they're called. What were they called? Death Dolls. They win. New champs. New champs. Death Dolls. Here you go. Hey, do you think they got any more time to celebrate than Frankie Kazarian did?
I think nope.
Nope. No, they sure didn't. Cut them off. See you later. Don't even. I don't even know if they held the belts up. I don't even know if they got handed the belts. They were like, "All right, we got to go." So package, and then we get Motor City Machine Guns versus the Kingdom. That's how they were announced, as the Kingdom, their old Ring of Honor name. Even though they're Honor No More, they're gonna go with Ring of Honor gimmicks. Just throwing it out there. You do with it what you will. Just mentioning that. Thought that. But yeah, this is for the tag team titles. And, I wrote down, much like similar to the Alex Shelley and Mickey Mouse Gloves match, I wrote, God, why? It's just, why do I have to watch this? Gloves tried a diving kick through the ropes. You know the one where the guy's on the outside and you grab the top rope and, like, stick your feet through and kick him?
Kind of like a swinging one almost?
Kinda, yeah. It just ends up looking like I don't know how else to describe it. It's just, you You do that, right? And Tanoni Lorcan was holding, I think it was Shelly at
Oh,
the time.
almost like a trapeze, almost kind of.
It's like, I'm trying to think who else does it. Chat, who does it? Who does that move? You grab the top rope, and you stick your feet through the like the bottom rope, just both of them, like you're on a swing, and you just kick the guy in the chest.
Okay, I know
or
what you're
whatever.
talking about.
You know what I'm saying? Like they do that, right? So he gets a running start and comes over and tries to do that, and he just gets tangled up in the ropes and fucking basically almost falls through it. And they're both outside just standing there. So once he climbs through the ropes, he runs down the apron and climbs up the turnbuckle and then jumps off with a flying Matt Taven. I don't know what the move was supposed to be. It wasn't quite a crossbody. It wasn't quite a double axe handle, but it was all of Matt Taven. So he tried to make up for it, but everybody just went sort of silent, like, because you can't. After something like that, you can't. You just look so fucking stupid. There was a lot in this match of like all four guys in the ring. You could have just made this a tornado match. Instead of doing this bullshit, you could have just said it was a tornado tag match. You know, you don't have to kill the referee. But again, they don't care. Somehow, Sabin got rolled up. Albeit that Gloves' feet were on the ropes. I actually think he was on the ref. I think he was actually resting on top of the referee while he's making the count. And he didn't care. Because it's whatever. So they actually retained their championships with this roll-up. They rolled up Goldberg 98. You imagine Goldberg losing to a roll-up in 1998? Even with the ropes?
Yeah.
So I wrote this question, and look, again, I had a limited time as an active wrestler. I walked away of my own volition. I wasn't forced out. I quit. Okay. So I understand that there's everything I say about wrestling and everybody else's place in it. Grab yourself a huge shaker of salt, not just a pinch, grab a whole shaker, and you take everything I say and you season it to taste. Like if you want to disregard everything because I'm a never was and never did, never gonna be, that's perfectly within your prerogative to do it. And I respect that and whatever. And these guys are out there, they're living the life, they're going through the stuff. They're doing the road miles and the bumps and all this stuff, and I get that. I fully get that. But I just have the question of not to insult these guys, even though it will. But it's a question to the fans only. Okay? Who is actually paying money to see any of these four guys? Like who was Motor City Machine Guns in 2022, mind you? Who was that was the driving factor? Like, well, I wasn't going to go to Bound for Glory, but I got to see the Machine Guns. Or I was going to miss this one, but gotta buy the pay-per-view and I gotta watch The Kingdom. Like even if it was just to see Maria's ass, I'm sure there's plenty of other things. You can see her naked ass if you look up the Playboy scans online. You don't have to see post 2-3 kids Maria out there with no pants on. You can see past Maria if that's what you were really into for these. Like, I just want to know, anybody here? Anybody listening on Channel Attitude, send emails. Just who is paying to see these four guys? What do these four normal size to small size white guys have to offer professional wrestling in 2022? What do they even have to offer Impact Wrestling in 2022? That this is where your tag team division is. Liz says, Nopers, they make me walk away from the TV. Yep. Well, you don't have to review the show, Liz. I still can barely watch it. I'll be honest, I barely watch this. You know, I always multitask when people like them come on. Because that's just me. This is now just going back to just the fan vet. Like, I'm not entertained by anything that they do or have ever done. Even when Taven went through the ropes and fucked up that spot and embarrassed himself and, you know, brought the whole match to a screeching halt, I was still like, well, that's unfortunate. That was my first reaction. It wasn't like, haha, you fucked up. It was just, I felt bad for him still. But, okay. That's just a question I had to throw out there because obviously the show is being listened to. I don't know who. Somebody must be listening to it because lights are getting turned out. And it took you long enough. And I hope that by the next time I talk about you, I won't have anything to say regarding that matter anymore and we can move on. Then they recap the Hall of Fame thing like I already did. Then we get a package for the Gauntlet where they explain the rules again. This is where they reinsert that footage from the Impact episode. Buckshot Kid says, why don't you say bad bookie? 2 tag champ matches in a row. I guess maybe they just wanted to get the shit out of the way. But I don't know. At this point, like I can't even care about that when so many other things are. All right, so we got a shot of the trophy for winning the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. It is a default trophy size and style. Like if this was a game like let's say this was a video game called Trophy Sales Simulator. And it was your job to run a trophy shop and to craft trophies or whatever. And you get to design your own trophies in the video game menu. And whatever you start with, like the default, like when you first start designing the trophy and then you have to like change the little aspects of it and stuff. Whatever pops on the screen for default, that was this trophy. This was that trophy that you win for winning the Call Your Shot Gauntlet. Here are the list of participants.
You had it right the first time. Participants.
But there might be some surprises in here, Brandon, so hold on a second. As Liz is spoiling Raw. Oh, God. Now it will be less enjoyable because Liz spoiled it. All right, here we go. In order, Eric Young, Joe Hendry, Burt Macklin, Rich Swann, PCO, Savannah Evans, Johnny Swinger, Tasha Steeles, Killer Kelly, Moose, Sammy Callahan, Taylor Wilde. No reaction. All right. Giselle Shaw. And then there was a point where a bunch of the guys in yellow hoodies, which are now being called the Designed. That's their name that the commentary is starting to get over. So somehow the commentators know what these random guys in yellow sweatshirts are called. Even though there would have been no way for them to learn that because they've never been called that by anybody. Did Eric Young just give them like an official press release right before they went on the air? Like these guys, if you see any of these guys, if they come in from the crowd and start disrupting this match, they're called the Designed. So could you get that over, please? That must have been what happened. Next entrant, Bully Ray. No reaction. All right. Another secret participant, Tommy Dreamer. Brandon's not selling it. This must not be that tight. Another participant, Rhino. Rhino's back. No one cares. All right. Then we get Bhupinder Gujjar, and then Heath, and then Bobby Fish, and finally, Matt Cardona. The return of Matt Cardona. And the face stays the same. There's no reaction to any of these people. All right. Well, it comes down to Bully Ray versus Burt Macklin. I'm like, okay, so they really have high hopes for Burt Macklin because they're about to the, they're about to put Burt Macklin in the title picture here, and then Bully Ray wins. So Bully Ray can call his shot at any time. What do you think about that?
Interesting. I mean, seeing Bully Ray back, well, we know we're not going to see any AEW collaborations for a while.
Right. I guess the NWA is already done with him. Or maybe not.
No,
yeah.
I like this. I thought this was his best work was as a singles character as Bully Ray.
Okay. All right. Probably. Of his limited singles activity, yes, I would say the Bully Ray character was, his best work.
It's interesting to see where they go. Yeah, they need somebody for Josh. They need to have a name, an established name for him while they build somebody else up.
I suppose.
And it looks like they might end up being Macklin.
Maybe. He'll have to wait his turn though. Yeah, so all right, so Eddie's in a room with a pink light. And Alicia brings the kids this time, like as extra guilt, I guess. And he says, "You said that this is gonna be over, or we're gonna be over." I said, "This is gonna be over when I win." And his daughter asks, "What if you don't win?" and Lish like ushers them out of the room and is like, "That's not gonna happen." But don't worry, it'll be all over when Eddie wins, right? So anyway, all right. So speaking of better win, we get a package, and then it's Masha versus Jordynne Grace for the Knockouts title. The only match on this show that I was even looking forward to watching, because I've been so impressed with Masha Slamovich since her debut. Yeah, they had a match. As a point that Buckshot Kid brought up earlier about the chop exchanges. They had a chop exchange in the middle, and it was really terrible. And they did a double back fist double down, which was ridiculous and looked bad. And there was also a kick out of a Canadian destroyer, or is it a Russian destroyer? I don't know. We definitely got a kick out of that, but I mean, can we even get
Kiev Crusher?
What was that?
The Kiev Crusher?
The Kiev Crusher?
The Kiev Crusher?
Yeah, maybe. But whatever it was, it kicked out, so not effective. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's just there was a little if there was anything bad in this match, I'm just going to attribute that to Jordynne Grace, because you got to see, like, the way I see it, Masha is the junior in this. Like, Jordynne Grace has been around longer, older, whatever. So even there's only so many times that even if this happens, I don't even know if it happens, but if Masha's going to say, no, let's do this instead, there's only so many times you could pull that card as the junior wrestler, right? You just, at some point, you have to acquiesce to what the veterans want to do in their matches, even if it sucks. So Masha's only 24 years old. Like, not been doing this forever. So she doesn't really have the agency to shut a bunch of bullshit down, and that means that she's probably gonna have to go with it. I assume, based on what I've seen from her and her training and her trainers, that she knows better in a lot of cases. So I could be wrong, but whatever. It took a Made in Japan off the second rope. They call it a Grace Driver, but I know what it's called. It's Made in Japan is what the move is called. And it takes a Made in Japan off the second rope to beat Masha Slamovich, but she is finally defeated. So, okay, now what? That is my question. So you actually built a character, got him over, and now what? Was this build and all this effort and all this was this all just to get a title defense for Jordan Grace? Like is that what this is all about?
I'm starting to wonder, do they think that Jordan Grace is their female Hulk Hogan? Because can you think about it, like the way they built Masha, very similar to the way they built heels for Hogan back in the day.
Yeah. And also, Jordan Grace was wearing white, and Hulk Hogan was wearing white in Rocky 3 when he was Thunder Lips. I don't know. Look, I'm just disappointed. Of course, as a fan, I wanted to see her win.
I agree.
But
She should have went over. That would have made way more sense, and it would have made a new star.
yeah, it would have done more for Jordan Grace to lose, come back, and get it back.
Yep. A fall from grace angle, pun intended.
Yeah, pun totally intended. Because right now, what is there to really get behind? It's just not. And I also find it odd that Tasha Steelz is totally okay with not being in the picture. Feels like even though she's involved in something with Killer Kelly, that should be secondary to her wanting to be the champion based on her attitude as the champion. I mean, if she didn't care that she was the champion when she was the champion, I wouldn't care. But she seemed to care. So now I'm thinking, why doesn't she want to get it back? And those kinds of things is just, even besides my contempt for Jordan Grace, it's really not about that. It could have been anybody that's in that position. I wouldn't just take somebody like that and then build somebody up just to beat him. If that's all you wanted to do, you could have brought Masha in for like a couple weeks, had her beat a couple people and get a title shot. Could have beat 2 jobbers and win a triple threat match. That's all you would have had to do. And then Jordan Grace can beat her, and then it's like, all right, cool. Now, I know what their psychology is. They think, oh, Jordan Grace really beat somebody. That solidifies her as a great champion and adds to her legacy. But your impact and nobody's watching. So it's really not as important. I just don't agree. I don't necessarily agree with just putting the belt on Masha, but you booked this match. So if you book up to a certain point and then you hand the pencil over to me, that's what I'm going to do. I wouldn't have necessarily put her in there so fast. But then again, it's Impact. How many people do they have? So, I don't know. So I was like, that was the main event to me. Unfortunately, we had another 40 minutes left to go in the show at this point. So we get a package, and then we get Eddie versus Josh for the world title. Now look, you guys probably know what I'm about to say, which is I could hardly care less about any of this. Like Liz was saying, like, they make me want to walk away from the TV, or, Jordan's so meh, not someone I ever root for. Or, you always hear people say, like, they make me change the channel, or they make me turn off the TV, bro. Eddie Edwards wants me to, he makes me want to shut off all my electronic devices and just hibernate. I need to take a break from the world rather than watch Eddie Edwards wrestle a match. I don't want to look at him. I don't want to watch him. There's nothing Eddie Edwards has to offer me. The guys did work hard to deliver a main event. Like, if you're on Bound for Glory and you're in the main event, you want to put on a good match for the people to justify why you're there. And I get that. And they did. They were like, suplexing each other on the floor and shit like that, and taking Germans on the ramp and pulling up the padding and exposing the hardwood floor and suplexing people on that and whatever, and just so they're like out there busting their ass working hard. But when it comes down to one little thing that was a tiny thing, but it's kind of everything if you really look at it. There's a moment where Josh Alexander hits the C4 on Eddie and goes for the cover. And before the referee even starts to count, based on the angle, you can start to see the Kingdom run out because they're going to make a save here, right? Eddie Edwards, okay? Now, if you're not watching the Channel Attitude on video or live right now, you just have to imagine. I'll explain it. So Eddie Edwards, now, I'm looking straight ahead right now in the camera, right? Okay? So this camera here, that's the ceiling. So I'm flat on the mat, right? And there's Brandon over there. Now, Brandon's the Kingdom. So I'm Eddie Edwards. I just took the C4, okay? The ref starts to count. This is what Eddie Edwards does. Okay? You all saw that. If you didn't see it and you're listening, Eddie Edwards, eyes closed, staring at, up, faced up at the ceiling, turns his head, looks over to make sure that they're going to be in time to make the save, and then returns to an eyes closed position facing up.
Hey guys, this is fake.
Yep. Yeah, I'm not hurt. Why did he do that? Because he was afraid that they weren't going to be in time, or he just wanted to make sure that he wouldn't have to kick out of the guy's finish. Well, guess what, bro? You ain't winning tonight. Spoiler, you ain't winning. So it doesn't fucking matter if the referee counts to 3 right here, because you ain't winning. So just fucking stay still. All right? If the referee counts and they fuck up, it doesn't matter. That's still the finish. Because, hey, Brandon, guess what the finish of this match was?
Alexander goes over.
With a C4. So you literally had the same finish later after some other bullshit.
Yeah, in that case, if they don't run out, hey, you guys get to go to the bar early.
Yep. Well, that's exactly why Eddie belongs where he looks like he belongs, which is, main eventing high school gyms and guard armories and fucking rec centers and, well, I don't want to be unfair. I don't think he'd be main eventing those places. He'd probably be the match before intermission, but whatever, dude. And yeah, Josh looks like his nose got broken. I didn't see exactly what it was. Probably an errant Boston knee party. I don't know. But, C4, pin. Okay. Josh Alexander retains. So we could have shaved an extra 5 minutes off of this if the guys had not come out to make the save. If they had failed to make the save, and Eddie had just stayed down, we could have went home earlier. So yeah, that was that. They had a good match, but that one thing really just I can't. It doesn't even matter to the fans probably that didn't see it. But it's like you got a guy that's in his mind, and that's your main event, guy. You can't. Your brain don't work right, kid. I'm sorry. Besides just keeping food from your wife and having a kendo stick with a name and your shitty gear and being fat and all this other stuff, like, besides all that, you can't just sell. Just sell? Can't do it? Eddie headbutt when he did a powerbomb for a pin. Oh my God, that was it? All right. Well, whatever with this guy. Anyway, there's a post-match beatdown, of course, because Honor No More's got to come out. They pull out a table, like they're gonna we're gonna put Josh Alexander through a table. It's like, bro, this guy got suplexed on on wood. Like what, like wood that goes nowhere. Like what's a nice, soft, cushy, crunchy table gonna do to him at this point? Like, why don't you just slam him in the guardrail or something? Like what? A table? Whatever. So they pull out a table. And then then Bully comes out with his little trophy, and it's like, oh look, it's another guy, from Ring of Honor now. It's Bully Ray. Like, he's with us, right? He's got his little trophy. He's with us. Bully Ray's with us. Yeah. And then they look like, he faces off with Josh Alexander, who's like getting to his feet, struggling to his feet, bleeding from the nose. And he's kind of like got that look of like, this again? Because last year, the Moose thing. And Bully Ray's like, you ready? And Josh Alexander's like, all right. And then Bully turns around and he attacks the Honor No More guys, and Josh attacks with him. And it's a total swerve, and we didn't see that coming, except we did. And then
that's because Team 3D they do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
They did it right to Censor. They did it with Main Event Mafia, and he did it right here.
Yep, super baby faces. You can always count on them to do the right thing. So yeah. He didn't do the Moose. He did the Bully, and he basically got in Josh's face after that and just said a bunch of stuff like, I'm going to make you step your game up or whatever. You want this belt? Here, take it, and all this other shit. So we're going to have a match with Bully Ray and Josh Alexander. And, that is Bound for Glory. I did not enjoy Bound for Glory. Not even a little bit. I wouldn't have enjoyed it even if Masha had become the new champion. I didn't like the card. I thought it was weak. You basically threw everybody good in this Call Your Shot Gauntlet Battle Royal. Or Royal Rumble, really. Because that's what it is. That could have been... Those guys could have been involved in matches instead. And you got a fat fuck like Eddie Edwards in the main event. Leave a bad taste in everybody's mouth. I mean, I don't know. I say everybody's. It was certainly mine. I don't want to speak for everyone. This would have been fine if this was one of those, like, available on Impact Plus type special events. This was not a card that's supposed to be your WrestleMania. It's not even fucking close. Not even close. You got fucking Fat Eddie exposing the business in a main event and busting Josh's nose open, and you got Moose in a battle royal that he's not even going to win. I mean, that's why you are where you are, guys.
Why?
You are turning off the lights, which I like to see, but then you're still leaving a couple of them on here and there, and not only are you running up the light bill, but you're pissing me off, because now you're like almost there, and you're just not doing it out of spite. Just do it. Just pull the plug. Just do it. Just get it over with. You don't need to wean yourself off of lights. You just turn them off. That's it. It's very simple. Easy. Cost saving measure. You can donate them, you can sell them. Whatever you want to do. So there's your Bound for Glory review. Hope it was more entertaining than the show itself. And we will get Brandon away to watch these things. But I highly suspect that someone as savvy Probably just didn't want to watch it, and that's smart. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay with me. I respect that. It's probably the best choice. Um, but yeah, that's our show. And Brandon, you want to tell the people where they can find you when you're busy not watching Impact pay-per-views?
Yeah, as always, you can find me at all the places at Miss Tia the Transarchist, as well as Twitch, and always right here every Monday night with the Impact Attack on Hameen Media Group channel. Whoop whoop.
Channel whoop whoop. That's right. And you can find me on all social media platforms at Opinion Haver, and you can find me on the Hameen Media Group doing such things as the Next Level Wrestling Review with Big Ray Hernandez every Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Talking about NXT isn't any easier than talking about Impact, let me tell you. They're both equally bad, but in different and I would say interesting ways, except they're not interesting. They're just different ways. And but it's the fun is talking about it and burying it. That's the fun. Fun is not watching it. It's a struggle. It's October, so I know that that makes Liz happy, and all this week or all this month on Twitch, I'll be streaming scary games, I guess. At least games that are themed for the month of October. I did see Liz throw out Little Nightmares. Like one of these times as a suggestion. If I play Little Nightmares, Liz, will you watch? Because I'll play it. I have the game, actually. And I don't think I'd ever play it under any other circumstances. So... But right now, I think I'm just in the middle of a blood-stained ritual of the night, so we'll see if I can do it. Okay, she says yes with 3 exclamation points. That's how you know it's serious. So maybe Little Nightmares is next, as soon as I finish Ritual of the Night. But yeah, so twitch.tv/opinionhaver to see that and any other things. A day warning, got it. I will get with Liz on my schedule, and sorry about the Browns, Liz. It looked like for a second there they were really trying to win. But yeah, so that's it. For Brandon, I have been the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.
Whoop whoop.